Hi! So a while ago I recorded like an hour session of me doing some Rust PR review stuff, and today I thought, why not do this again? Because my notification backlog has grown a bit recently. If we check this, there's some stuff to do. So yeah, let's start with the first one. I've already taken a look at this, and I was about to approve it when I thought, hey, I could record this. So let's make sure this thing doesn't get lost. So there's PR that was opened very recently. They're going to be excited for my fast review times, which they sometimes are and sometimes not. Um, so there's an issue here that unstable sort by panics if you pass in a bad comparison function, which just don't pass in a bad comparison function. That's not just in a sound. That's not a good thing to do, so don't do that, and it will panic, or may panic. And the docs are apparently not very clear about this, because they're sort of a mess and not very unified. So Yukang here made a PR to make it more unified. To basically take some stuff from the stable sort by docs, and yeah, reword them a bit, make it a bit clearer, which is nice. You want to be clear whether something can panic or not. And I thought that this makes sense, but then I also checked the stable sort docs, and they're like not quite as unified. For example, here you see this example of a sort that would not be transitive or reflexive, so not too bad. And this example here, they copied the example to all the unstable stuff, but it's not on sort, but sort has this extra note about how to sort floats, and no, and this guy doesn't, and this guy doesn't either. And, right, there's also cached key, and I think I don't want to block merging an obvious improvement on future improvements. Is there no sort unstable by cached key? So there's sort by cached key. Sort by cached key just caches the key. I don't know if sort by cached key will make sense for it. I don't know a lot about sorting, but I don't know. Either way, this makes the unstable stuff better, and it doesn't touch the stable stuff. I think that's fine. But the stable sort docs. Yeah, so this nicely unifies the unstable sort doc in that regard. So in this regard. But unstable sort docs are still but yes, the change is good, so let's approve it. Okay, next up we have this one. This one is very funny. So there's this tracking issue for a feature called subpointer to subtract two pointers from each other and return a usize, which is a nice helper method to avoid having to get the address and then subtract this. And as you can see, it was this position merged. It was final comment period accepted, except in the final comment period start, the Lips API team decided to give it a different name, which makes sense. So Anacopa here. Yes, the FCP was for the name. So here's the FCP. It's hidden somewhere behind load more. Thanks, GitHub. They want to call it offset from unsigned. And then they accepted this. And if you load more, they eventually checked their box and everything was good. But now it's stabilized with the wrong name in tomorrow's nightly. or yesterday's, I'm not sure. But first of all, I'm gonna finally update the tracking issue, since apparently no one has done this so far. So we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna rename it here. Interesting. Yeah, so we have this, and then we have a rename PR. So I'm also gonna link, because why not? It's been done, not that important. Okay, so I think we got it. Now it just renames them to byte subpointer, byte offset from onsite. They optimistically used an emoji as a branch name, and just an emoji. This has gone wrong in the past if you just use an emoji. There's a legendary PR. Author Ollie OBK3. Ollie has so many PRs, it might be hard to find. It's probably closed. No. Yes, it was this one. So this has a frozen emoji, and it was never merged. I don't know the history exactly, but it was sort of fucked up and was never merged. And then he made a new PR. That was just got crazy. Yep. We'll see how this goes. We will see how this goes. But hey, let's go. The branch name is fitting. So we have subpointer is yes. Rust C, but Rust C always uses the Rust C always uses the latest in3 standard library and not the previous beta standard library, even though it uses the previous beta compiler, which is generally terrible. But here it's fine. Here it's nice because it doesn't need any configuration on whether it's the previous or the current compiler. But in general, it's a terrible thing that will hopefully be removed in the future. But for now, we have to struggle with this still. Well, here it's actually useful. Yeah, offset from unsigned. You know, offset from is kinda, yeah, it's a very long name, but it does reflect the operation a bit clearer in a way. It's definitely fine. Because here the thing is renamed. I just guessed they have renamed everything. I'm not gonna check whether they have renamed everything. I'm only gonna ensure they have renamed the important parts. So that's const pointer, that's mute pointer, which just delegates to const pointer. How's const pointer implemented? Okay, it actually does like well, oh, it has the unsafe precondition, sure. Because they can't overflow. That's an unsafe precondition here. And yeah, it checks the precondition, and then it just calls an intrinsic. Yeah, interesting. So now mute doesn't have to do it, the precondition. That makes sense. And non-null also has it, which just calls it a mute pointer. Okay. Yeah, then the iterators and tests. I love tests. Miri tests. UI tests. This looks fine. Ralph also seems to be okay. Yeah, sure. So let's approve this. Please approve it, boss. I think I've still got no notification. It's so annoying because Boris always hits the comment which sends out a notification. Okay, what are we gonna do next? I don't wanna do this. Yeah, let's do this. That's sort of yeah, they've nicely asked me to preview it again, which is completely right. Please, I mean it's just been a week, but that's fine. I should have. So context on this. Binary format. So Rust has a bunch of targets, and these targets have different binary formats. For example, there's ELF for, let's say, for Linux and others. There's PE or COF, sort of, depending on which format for Windows. Then there's Mach-O. I think that's how you pronounce, how you're supposed to pronounce it for Apple platforms. XCOF for AIX, which is really funny. Yeah, and currently the Rust C uses some funny if-else cases, which you can't see here, but which exist for determining which binary format. Yeah, if it's like OS X, so if it's Apple-like, then it's Mach-O. If it's like Windows, it's COF. And if it's like AIX, it's XCOF. Otherwise, it's ELF, which works, but it's a bit annoying and means that it can't easily be customized, and we generally prefer to not have such big if else if cases because we just want the targets to tell us directly, like, hey, like for example, Cygwin can go, I'm COF. Apple goes, I'm Mach-O. AIX goes, I'm XCOF. And so on. Wasm says I'm Wasm because yes, of course, this case didn't have Wasm, which I think in this case was probably okay. I don't know what this code is for, but either way, that's exactly why we don't want the else ifs because they just don't work very well. So yeah, it's a pretty simple change. So we add the binary format property, which I've already looked at, the keys, etc., and then we add them to the target. So by default it's ELF, so all the ELF stuff doesn't need it. AIX is XCOF, Apple is Mach-O, Cygwin, I think Cygwin, I don't know how to pronounce it, is COF because it's such a funny mix of Unix and Windows. MSVC is COF, of course, it's Windows. Wasm is Wasm. And the other two Windows also COF. Now, how do we know that nothing was accidentally messed up? Great question. I have fixed that already. I wrote this fucked up script, which I'm gonna run again on the latest version. So I checked out this PR here. What are you talking about? Can I force? Okay, that works, thanks. So yes, now I need a compiler, x build stage 1 library. Now I actually only need stage 0 compiler. This will build the stage 1 compiler because it builds something with stage 0. So the interface is bad and confusing, will be good eventually, but not right now. Right, the Nixos bug that I have attempted doesn't exist. That's an annoying bug in DRenv. It will patch all these amazing LVM binaries because Nixos stuff. Why does LVM even, what the fuck is the LVM not binary? Yes, we'll explore LVM binaries in the meantime. What is this? LVM project. So I think this stuff, where is it? actually not sure where I can find this stuff. No, I think there's gonna be a file somewhere called not.cpp. Utils, yeah, that's. So yes, it is just not. It is not. It returns true if it doesn't crash. Wait. Will return true if CMD doesn't crash. Will return true if CMD doesn't crash and returns false. So if it returns false, so it's not, but it also handles crashing. That is a really funny binary. So I can say true and that's false, and not false is true. That's amazing. Probably useful for tests or whatever, but there are many funny utils in LVM. Let's not distract ourselves too much, because I don't think it's actually. So now I've written this cursed bash script, which found two bugs. They forgot about AIX and they forgot about Cygwin. Wait, no, AIX is just not handled by my bad script. I think it's yes, still here. So let's test all of them. So this warning is expected. This is also expected, but it shouldn't say error anywhere. I don't see an error, and I'm not gonna grep now, so this seems good now. This is probably wrong, but that's fine. They've opened an issue. If you got the help message here, I hope they didn't rebase here. They did not. They adjusted the help message, they made Cygwin cough, and they added a to object here. And they didn't handle this. So I'm gonna prove it and then ping the AIX maintainers there. They work at IBM and they actually, well, IBM is pretty nice. They actually, yeah. If you ping IBM people, they're gonna answer, which is nice. Okay, so this looks good now. Let's go through the diff one last time. I've already looked at most of the diff in the past. So the ASM binary format, this enum is no longer needed since we just checked the binary format. And here it's probably wrong. Marco. Now you have an uppercase O instead of a lowercase o. I like that. I think I'd also like an uppercase C here, but that's fine. I'm not gonna ask them to put an uppercase C here. That's it. No, I'm not that ridiculous. The way these JSON target specs are handled is interesting. It's certainly interesting. In general, not this PR. This PR is fine. Okay, thanks. And bars R plus without the rollup because I mostly trust it, but don't completely all trust it. That is sort of. Can we make the. You know what? I think I'm gonna ping them after it's been merged so I can link to master. Okay. This should be done. Now, hello, Boris. Go away, Boris. This one, I kinda. Definitely imposed. I don't know. I think I should probably be more clear about that. Okay, so this is very funny. This is amazing. This is great. Okay. So they did some cleanups of Rust C code and SSA, just some random cleanups, no domain specific knowledge needed, and most of these cleanups are nice, but there's one of them, and I thought that this changes the behavior, and everyone else seems to say that it doesn't. So now I need to figure out whether it's whether I'm wrong. So let's look at the code. So dependency. So yeah, previously I just looked at this in like GitHub, but at this point I don't trust myself enough. I need to actually look at the codes myself. So there's an array called dependency formats, well, or a vec or whatever. It's on the crate info. Yes, an arc of dependencies. And what they do here is they take this arc of dependencies and dependencies thanks Rust Analyzer for not working. Yes, please rerun Rust Analyzer. Dependency format is just an index and map, so it's a map of crate type to list of linkage. So for every okay, so wait. So I want to actually understand what this does and not just at like the deeper level. So you have a crate type, and for each crate type, you want to know our dependencies. Yeah, I think I need to look at the dependency format query provider. So this is the provider, which create dependency format, calculate resolution. Yeah, this was written by Alex Crichton probably. Yeah, this is Alex stuff. Resolution. Yes, so every crate can be linked statically or dynamically, and it must only be linked once. In this case, two different versions of a crate are two different crates. Yeah, so you can statically link an rlib into a dolib, so a dolib can have more than one crate. For example, the librust driver dolib, which most of Rust sees in this dolib, which is then used by Rust format Clippy, etc., contains all the compiler crates. Actually, no, this stuff rarely changes. It's probably accurate. Okay, so we just like each. It's fairly complicated logic that I've never seen. Right, so crate types is an array because if I write cat ubud.rs, I can do rustc ubud.rs create type, for example, bin, thanks fish, ubud.rs create type cedar_lib and create type plus lib, and then I will get libubud.so and libubud.rs. So you can have multiple crate types. And that's what the dependencies is for. Because for every crate type, the crate types only really differ in sort of the final stage of compilation. So for every different crate type, we know how to link its dependencies. Which in this case, I don't love the wording. Really, it's more like the dependency list is actually like for every crate in the crate graph, not just direct dependencies, but also indirect dependencies. So every crate in the crate graph, not just cargo dependency, also like sysroot dependencies, so like the standard library and all its crates, probably in there as well. So for every single crate in the crate graph, which is what the crate nom is for, index vec is something we have in rustc. It's just a vec, but you don't index it with usize, you index it with a new type, like crate nom in this case, which is nicely documenting. So it says, hey, for every crate in the crate graph, we have a linkage. So either it's static, so rlib, it's dynamic, so dylib, or included from dylib. So I assume we have a dylib that's statically linked the rlib into itself, and we get it from there. So important to know is we have a map of a vec, and we can compute this somehow by looking what we prefer. Right, that's where preferred dynamic comes in. If you've ever seen this this flag, I think that's like the main usage of it. Not gonna go into the details if you haven't. CRT static. Oh god, we checked the CRT static. This is such whatever. So create executable. If it's for dynamic, proc macro. All of this makes sense. So we have the preferred linkage. I may just do stuff with it. And the details are luckily not important. What is actually important is the checks. So now we have computed, for every crate type, we have computed the way we link its dependencies. Crate type is not passed in calc. Of course, it's Alex. Same commit. So each linked rlib, when it is called link static lib, start executing works. So some stuff. This calls a callback for each linked rlib. Or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't error check, and that's the important part here. So we get the crate type, which, given this, just takes so this basically says, hey, we pass it a specific crate type, which in this case is static lib, and in this case it's none. This is weird. So we get the crate type, and then we just get it. So if we don't explicitly specify a crate type here, which is in the other case, which I don't know when it's called, we check that the combination works. Now, I wanna see what an incompatible this tendency error is. Do not have equivalent dependency. Is there a test for this? Of course, there's no test for it. Of course, there's no test for this. Oh god. Okay, so what I think this is checking. We go through all the combinations. So remember, the dependency formats is an index map of crate type to index vec. So right, it goes for all the crate types, and then basically get combinations, which is an itertools helper, which gives all the combinations. So we try every combination, and for the two parts, check the crate type 1, crate type 2, and dependency list 1, dependency 2, and check that for each of the combinations, they have the same dependency. So we basically check that everyone has the same dependency format. Which is somehow related to LTO. I don't know anything about this. But it's sort of strange. This is a kind of strange way. I don't think I would write it like this. I think I would just sort of take the windows, because you can also just take the windows instead of the combinations. It would be more efficient. Not that the efficiency matters here, but combinations places don't say nothing. So, but apparently not, because we have a discussion about what it does. So yes, it can't be empty either, and then we just get the first, because all of them are the same. Here's what they did. They grabbed the iterator over the dependency format. They take the first element, or an arrow, as today, makes sense so far. And then they check if there is any element where the list of this other element is not equal to the list of the first element. Now this checks, this doesn't check what we want, except it doesn't, no. Because I don't think it's equivalent, because if say the crate type 2 and 3 in the second and the third element disagree, this will no longer emit an arrow. I'm completely confused by this response. If the second and last lists are different, then the first and last list will also be different. Wait, no, they are, of course they are right, yes. Yes, they are very right. If every list is equal to the first list, all of the lists are equal. That was very... Oh. Yeah. Which means I get to prove this PR. I don't know why it took... You know, the funny thing is this would probably have actually been my implementation. But somehow just, okay. In the meantime, we just got something new. So there's a SIMD optimized function in the Rust compiler as chunks No, analyze source file SCC2, which they have simplified here. It used to be very complicated, now it's simpler. Great, because the complexity is no longer needed. It was a funny historical accident, but it's very smart CMD stuff. And I was like, hey, this could be even more simplified, and now it's even more now they simplified even more, and then Scott was like, oh no, this can be even more simplified. And now it's even more simplified. Isn't that nice? Basically, like, this is how you always do SIMD. So, SIMD, signal structure multiple data, as the name says, multiple data. We want to operate on multiple elements at the same time. So in this case, we are operating on bytes, and we are operating with SSC2, so 128 bits, which is 16 bytes. Yes, so we're operating 16 bytes at a time, which means that the input has any length. We are operating in 16 byte chunks. So 16 bytes, 16 bytes, 16 bytes. But then you also have a remainder, because maybe it's not divisible by 16, the length. And that's what this code handled. So it basically took the bytes, and then it just looped through the chunk. It calculated the chunks count, and iterated through it, and then it calculated how much where the tail started, how much the tail stuff was, and did more work. You don't need to do that if you can just use S chunks, which is a nice helper method that only exists in Nightlib. So you can't use it yet, but the Rust compiler can use unstable features, so the Rust compiler can use it. Yeah, the great chunk. This is an amazing API. It's really cool. Like, it gives you an array of chunks and the remainder in a tuple. It's awesome. There's also another method which you can use unstable, which I suggested originally, which I forgot what it's called. I suggested it, but I forgot how it's called. Right, chunks exact. So there's chunks exact. There's also chunks. To get chunks, you can use chunks, which is a slice iterator. And it's not very good, but it's not usable for SIMD at least, because it gives you slices. So it's iterator, you give it chunks, and it will give you all the chunks, but the remainder is in a chunk, which is bad for SIMD. You want whole chunks, you want exact chunks. So you get chunks exact, which is a decent API, but it's not great, but it's okay. I would use this for SIMD unstable today. It returns an iterator of a chunk size, so it gives you a chunk, and then after there are no more chunks, it returns none. And then you explicitly need to call a remainder to get the remainder. This does everything you need. It also allows you to forget to call remainder, and if you forget to call remainder, bad things happen. And usually you don't need to do anything with iterators, so that's confusing. Chunks, not confusing. Chunks is amazing. It's also unstable because, well, what if you pass 0? Currently it panics, but wouldn't it be nice if it was a compiler error to pass 0? Wait, can this be? This was historically always not easily possible or not nicely possible. It should be possible. It should be possible to make it a compiler error, I think. Or does this need generic const expros? I forgot. Yes, it should now be possible to make a file. The LangTeam prefers runtime panics over post-mono errors. bike shedding. It's left in bike shedding over this. Which I think this... You know what? I'm gonna nominate this for Libs API team discussion so they can figure out what they want. Let's just write a quick summary of this. Meaning issue here. Yeah, I think this should just be post mono error. There's no reason to not can post mono. Like, of course, post mono errors. Post mono error means it happens during monomorphization, so instantiation of the generics. So like when your generic functions get turned into actual real functions, which doesn't happen if you say Coco check. It only happens if you actually build, so Coco build or anything else, which sucks in general. We want things to happen in Coco check as well, but this doesn't because it would be way too slow to also do in Coco check. But like, I don't know, something that happens in build but not check seems better than something that doesn't happen in check and also doesn't happen in build. So I'm arguing for this. And with that, I'm gonna say crosspot label I don't know what the label is called, so I'm gonna label manually. So I'm gonna say libs API nominated. Okay, doing my best to make sure you can use this on stable too. And with this, I'm gonna close it and review this code, which can use as chunks because we're the compiler, we can do whatever we want. Okay. So we get the chunks, we get the tail. And you're not gonna believe this, iterate through the chunks. It's great. Why do we need a chunk index, by the way? They just enumerate to get it. Oh, for the offset. Yeah, makes sense. So enumerate to get the chunks. And that's it. And in the end, we get the source length minus tail length plus intra chunk offset. Same result. And you need to get the feature, but I can add the feature. Okay, so this is good. I like it. I love it. One open question I have is could this affect performance? We've previously tested that performance of this function is important, but I don't think it really matters all that much. As in, like, I don't think there is a lot of danger in, like, doing this. It's probably not gonna get slower. If it does get slower, we will see post-merge, so that's fine. So I'm gonna say post plus, but without the roll-up, because, bang. So now Boris is here. Yes, I was very lost in this PR. Okay. This also needs my attention. Stabilizing the dwarf version flag, which has a very detailed stabilization report and still needs my box checked. But I think I need to find some more time to spend on this and actually think about this and like basically there's a bit of an argument on whether to make it different, and I want to like at least lay out the pros and cons of doing it like this because I think that's nice. But I won't do that right now. So allow index slice to be this PR is a bit of a mess. But Ollie has reviewed it, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna give it a bit of time. Maybe Ollie picks it up again, maybe not. Implement read buffs over zkVM. So implement read buff, which takes the borrowed cursor, and then it calls read with the pointer of the buffer, the capacity of the buffer, and then it advances unchecked by as I invited the red. This looks terribly correct. But also, I've never used borrow buff, so let's see what is actually correct. Cursor rather. So, it's a writable view of borrowed buff. Right, this is a buy buff, like maybe uninitialized. It takes 3 regions. So it's filled, initialized, and uninitialized. Yes. Then the borrow cursor is a writable view. It's basically a ref mute borrowed cursor, a borrowed buff, except you can't do bad things with it. Right, we can call append, which is a nice helper. Let's save. That will advance the position. That will just sort of copy and then increase the field, which is also something that advanced unchecked does. It just increases the field. I'm not entirely sure what the point of strict add, yes. Anyway, replicate on an mute. Yeah, we can get stuff. Makes sense. We advance it. We say, hey, so we read into it, and then we promise that we have indeed read into it. This looks so very correct that it's, I assume, buff.smute gives you the stuff. So we can get the init mute, which is the initialized part. To the whole cursor. I don't understand why there's initialized and filled. Or is the initialized thing fake? Well, I guess initialized sort of matters for save cases. So how much is safe to get? Right, I think, yes, fine. But anyway, this is fine. They have pinged the zkVM maintainer. For the zkVM, which is actually risk 0, not... I will not get into the details of why this is incorrect, the name of zkVM, but people are probably working on fixing it. Because we have a target called zkVM, Zero Knowledge Virtual Machine, some crypto thing, which I don't care about. Because I don't care about cryptocurrency blockchain stuff, not serious crypto. And they have some zkVM stuff, and they call the target zkVM even if it actually depends on like risk 0, the concrete team, like the risk 0 project owns this target. And risk 0 is specific. They need to rename the target from zkVM to risk 0, but they haven't done that yet, but they should do it soon, otherwise you're gonna delete it. Because it's wrong. It's very badly named, and someone else was trying to add a zkVM target as well, which is a different zkVM that's not compatible, because that's just an abstract concept. Like, not all architectures are compatible, of course not. Not all operating systems are compatible, so not all zkVMs are compatible. Which is what should be called risk 0. Very unimportant. Stabilize const vec string slice. Oh, it fails CI. I don't want to look at it. But also maybe I can look at it. Okay, they have not done this correctly. This will need stuff. Yeah, but it's fail CI. I'm not gonna look at it. Okay, it's getting less and less. I need to finally look at this PR. So it has conflicts. I don't know. So this is a fairly big PR, which is part of some pin ergonomics thing. This is so stupid. If only we had a way to document what a field means in a tuple struct, maybe a named struct with a named field. I don't want to look at this. Why is that? Oh yeah, of course, because you have to say pinness, mutability, the binding mode. Yeah, it doesn't actually do. It just adds binding mode and forwards it everywhere, and conflicts all over the place, obviously, because conflicts. And apparently it's not gated very well, as Airs pointed out, and I don't know. Parse path ident pin. Apparently it's still not gated properly. This doesn't actually. This needs. Oh wait, no. I forgot how feature gating works. But I know it happened somewhere, and this doesn't actually. Is it not gated at all? I don't see an entry in Rusty feature. No, there is. There is a feature gate. Pin ergonomics. Oh, they didn't add it because it's the existing gate. Where do they actually use it though? Where do they do the gating? It's not here, it's not here, it's not here, it's not in here. Type check, it's not in middle, it's not in mirror. Is it in parse? I don't see it happening in parse. Generally don't do this thing in parse. No, this is also this thing. This parse is a bit. You know what? No. This is some clippy thing. This is tools. Where are they doing the gating? Probably in the wrong place, which is why compiler has pointed out. But anyway, I think actually compiler is way better equipped to review this PR. I will let him review the PR. Oops, someone replied. Okay, so Lang also wants to discuss their preference. Honestly, makes sense. I think it would be really weird for them to prefer a runtime check over postmono. I know postmono sucks, but remember that run. We will see what happens. We will see. Just check runtime really quick. Okay, I was a bit distracted. Let's take another look at this piece of thing that holy shit. Okay, so I'm just trying to nicely add some stuff that exists. I'm just trying to implement the raw dulip on elf. And as one does, don't we all? You're probably asking what is raw dulip, and you might even be asking what is elf. Well, anyone who enjoys fantasy literature will know what an elf is, and that's really all that matters for this, for what I'm gonna do here. And anyone who knows fantasy literature may not know what a raw dulip is, but that's fine too. That's fine too. Okay, it's David GNU now. Wait, no, I'm confused. No, it's not AVR GNU, it's just AVR. Yes, it is just AVR. The rebase is easy. So let's continue the rebase. The problem is that CI failed because of some... Look, if you made a PR and it failed the job dist I586, GNU I586, I686, Muzzle, you would be like, what the fuck? And yeah, this is 32-bit x86, this is 32-bit x86 but older, and no idea what this job is. It's probably some cross-compilation thing that compiles, cross compiles stuff on like different x86 32-bit versions, and the tests are failing with an error that's like linking failed because it couldn't find the synthetic objects that I'm creating. And as I said, you don't need to know anything other about ELF and raw tulip as fantasy literature will provide you. Because I will just be like, hey, least dynamic linking, only ELF. Ignore cross compile. Or no, only x86 64. I don't know. I don't want it to run on this fucked build because I don't want to debug this today. I may debug this another time, but not today. I just want this shit to get merged. So let's say only GNU, only x86 64. Fix me raw tulip elf. Debug the failures on other targets. I only want this to run on x86 64 GNU, which is the system I have, and that's a great system. I like it. And I'm just gonna say, fuck it, I'll ignore it. Because elves are not always your friends. Even when they are cute, they're not your friends. Elves, if there's anything to take away from this, is elves are not always your friends. I'm just trying to get this over. Armagoras. I'm already doing ignore cross compile now. Just cross compilation, because this is Windows stuff. I have ELF. Okay, I was just kidding on the whole fantasy thing, by the way, because I do actually want to explain what raw tulip on ELF is, because I think it's very cool. So, let's explain what raw tulip on ELF is. It is also related to fantasy creatures, and these fantasy creatures are called dynamic libraries. Where's my... I need an Ubudalores. Give me Ubudalores. Okay. So say I have create that like exists. it has a main function that says like hello world, and I can wait. That's why I have the testing directory, right? I think I have an Ubudalores in testing. Perfect. Yeah. Say I ignore all of this. I have an Ubuntu, and it just has a main function, and you can print stuff. You can go like hello world. Then you say rust c ubuntu. Thanks fish completions. Once I upgrade to fish 4.0, this problem will be fixed. It says hello world. But then you go ahead and you want to link against some magic library like meow. Meow is a no lib. What the? So you want to link against meow.c, which doesn't have a main function, and meow is some advanced library that will have a function meow meow that just prints meow meow meow. I'm a cat. Meow. And that is a great function, a great library, and it's distributed as a shared library. So you have cc shared meow.c, exactly, and it will just give you an output libmeow.so. Thanks, language server that crashed. It's fine. So when I have this libmeow.so, now so the way you'll do this in Rust is you then say, hey, I have a library, and by the way, I wanna link against against the meow library, and I want to import the meow meow function. And now I no longer say it, I want to call the meow meow. So now you do rust-c and you will get an error because you didn't handle safety correctly. So now I'm going to say unsafe extern c. This is the safe function. This is new syntax because this is safe because it just prints. So now it's still wrong because I can't define a body, of course. But now I get an error. It can't find the library meow because the linker does not search for in the current directory. Now I can actually make it do that. So tell it, hey, let's search in the current directory. Now compilation will succeed because the linker will look at libmeow.so, see, oh, libmeow.so, because here we say, hey, we want to import this meow meow from meow. But that's actually two completely different things. We say, hey, we want to link against meow. And by the way, we also want to import the meow meow function. On Windows with DLLs, it's more explicit from which library imported from. But on Unix, ELF, it's very, well, you just import it from somewhere. And the linker then figures out, hey, meow meow, is that defined somewhere? It opens libmeow.so because you told it to. And then it will see, oh, libmeow defines meow meow, so it links against it and everything works out fine. But for that, it actually needs to load meow.c. That's what the link directive is for. And if I now run Ubuntu, it will give an error. It can't find it because once again, the loader does not look in the current directory. We can say ld library path equals current directory, and then it's fine. We can also do other things, but that's what we're going to do for now. So everything is fine, except no. Because what if we don't have libmeow.so on this computer? So the same thing happens on Windows. You link, for example, against kernel32.dll, and everything is fine if you have its import lib. So you don't, in Windows, you don't have the DLL, you have some .lib file. If you have that on your system, perfectly fine. If you're, say, cross-compiling to Windows, you might not have that on your system. So that with raw dlib, the idea is that the compiler makes it work, basically. So once again, we do rust-c without having the library. I still have it on my computer, but just gonna pretend I don't have it. It's an error. Now, if I say kind equals raw dlib, I'll get an error. This doesn't exist. Well, if I use my magic own rust-c, it doesn't have a standard library because it doesn't like my only. Do I need to say only x86_64? Probably. Yeah, that was silly. Also static oh, this is Rust 2. So Rust 2, ubu.rs. I have linked this fairly badly. Now we say it's unstable, so that's okay. We can do some unstable features, so let's copy the raw dlib elf. We say yes, we wanna use this unstable feature, which hasn't been stabilized because it's only exists on IPR. And now it says it's incomplete, which is also true because I don't trust its implementation, but that's okay. Now it has actually successfully created our binary. Now if we run it, we still need the library, of course, because if we run it, of course we need the library. But for compiling, we don't need the library. How does this work? Well, we just make rust-c create its own libmeow.so and keep it to the linker. Because the linker, for dynamic libraries, the linker doesn't actually care about like the implementation, the assembly. It just cares, is the symbol there? So if we just create a fake shared library with all the symbols you declared here. So we just assemble all the symbols you declared for this library. We put them into a stop. We give that to the linker, and the linker is happy. That's what this does. And that's what failed, because it couldn't find this stop. I have no idea why. So we're just going to ignore the problem. And yeah, basically that's what also my ubu2.rs, my ubu.rs here has, yeah. It's very cool, and I like it, and I want to get it merged, and then maybe forget about it, or maybe actually get it working. But for now, I just really want this merged. Merged instead of struggling with CI so much. This has failed CI so many times. Like 97 comments, but like, yeah, some review feed from Björn, but other than that, it's just, oh, test failed, test failed, test failed, test failed, test failed. Well, and since the only GNU system that we have is Linux and Herd, but no one runs tests on Herd. GNU, so it should at least pass for now, so can merge it. Look, I love 32-bit x86 Musl. I don't like 32-bit x86, but I don't hate it. But it shouldn't happen on my PR right now. Oh, now there's sudden activity. Okay, so here's an argument for why it's good to have a runtime check. Yeah. Yeah, this rather worth mentioning. Honestly, I don't really care what they choose, because just don't pass 0 to it. It's not that hard to not pass 0 to it, so I don't really care. I just want something. I want to use S chunks unstable. Oh, this recording has been running for over an hour. That's nice. But we're almost done. We're almost done. So let's actually take a look at this. No, I just want to check whether Ollie's feedback was addressed. Ollie, where is your feedback? Apparently Ollie's feedback was addressed, because I can no longer see it. For example, in check pointer, it wants to do indices. In check pointer, yeah, okay, so Ollie's feedback was addressed, so I can, let's take a look. This was a bit confused originally, because Ollie thought it actually changed slice index instead of index slice, because the title was wrong. The title said slice index, which is a trait in the standard library, so doing anything to it matters, but it actually just meant index slice, which is just a compiler internal thing that no one cares about, but no one as a Rust user. So I can just, it's very chill, like either works or doesn't. So to be indexed by ranges. This comes with some annoyances, as the index type can no longer be inferred from indexing expressions. It's mapping a place to a range index. Well, pretty simple. Does it make the code simpler or not? So we need inference here. need to annotate. We also need to annotate this guy. So far, it's not great. Here we have iter enumerator to expected index in arc matrix. What the fuck is an arc matrix? Oh, if you have an argument mismatch, it has some very advanced code to figure out what the issue was and give a nice error. Yeah, this is very cool. It was written by compilers, I think. Now I've provided index to expected. And form undetected inputs to expected index. And I'm gonna do it. Just shuffles stuff around. Provided arcs to tuple. Oh, this is yeah, this is clear. Here we need to annotate it. Here we also need to annotate it, which I don't love. I stay sad, but here blocks of indices. I actually need to take a very quick break. I won't cut this out in the recording because that's too much effort, so we just have to wait for a second. So I just realized that OBS has pause functionality, of course. Because, like, of course it has this basic functionality. So I could have just paused, but I just had already gone from the room when I realized that, so that's not useful. But yeah, welcome back. I am here again, and we are taking a look at index slice, which is, I've talked about index vec previously, which is like an index with a vec with a strongly typed index. Index slice, it is what you expect. It's a slice with a strongly typed index. So here, you have a slice. You give it an index, which is the generic type, the index type, and it gives you back the thing. But now we have into slice index. Use a trait that's defined here, which is implemented for any index. Well, why is there into slice index? Oh, because of course we map the thing into a slice index and then we use the slice index. Like we use the range usize to actually index the slice. And nightly, because this thing is also used by Rust Analyzer. We have these inputs. Ah, this is new range, yes. So nightly we also do it for the new ranges. For the future ranges. Which will probably land in the next edition. So the edition after 2024. We'll get new range types that are copied, which is neat. This is range 2. This is range inclusive. This is range 2 inclusive. This is range that we can just YOLO into. Because, well, no, the fields are public, of course. Not of course, they're also public for other stuff. But they don't have syntax. But honestly, I would find the field X when the construction to be easier to read, but that's fine. So range from start index. This is very inconsistent. Why? Okay, quick break again, but this time I'll pause. The world is so much easier with time travel. Okay, right. Into slice, into index slice, into slice index. That's where the confusion comes from, I think, because I'm also confused now. Range 2, range from, yes, I looked at this. This is good. And range API, yep. And here it's just into slice index. They turn it into a slice index. And yeah. With the generics, of course. And here we have the same thing. We implement index slice for any R. Oh yeah, it's the indexing syntax. We implement indexing for any range. Makes sense. Which makes inference worse, which requires some juggling of stuff, which they do here. So we have iter enumerate, which is now iter enumerated, which I think exists as a helper method for whatever reason. Inference or something. To expected index, which is something that was added above, right? Which replaces an int because the int no longer gets the inference hint, so it needs the explicit stuff. Here we want the provided argument as a tuple, so we just the provided arguments skip until mismatch index, and then we take the ties to len. Here we have provided args to tuple. Now we can index as a range and split at and create a new tuple from that iterator, which I think is honestly not better. I don't think this is better. This here we get here we zip together two iterators, so we skip the mismatched index. This is nicer. This is better, I think. Actually, not really. Here we into iter and then we chain provided args after tuple. Provided args dot iter. We skip the mismatched index. Honestly, I feel like I would need to read the code to understand. This is very complicated. Why is this code not in the other file? Anyway, I feel like I would need to read a bunch of code. This is probably correct because it passes tests. And I'm sure there are a bunch of tests for this. But also, what's the provided args after tuple? I can only hope that this is what. This is also a. This is an enormous method that has so many. So we get the provided argument types. This is so complicated. Okay. Maybe I just ask them to revert this because for this I. Oh, here after tuple, lol. No, this is fine. It's like kind of late a bit. No, but I think this is correct. Now, if any of you see that this is obviously incorrect, you can go comment on the PR right now, which will be long after it's been merged. But this is probably not incorrect, so you shouldn't comment. And if you don't think it's incorrect, you shouldn't comment because that's spam. Just all this stuff. Yeah, we check if the newly wrapped tuple and the rest of the arguments are compatible. So we have the newly matched tuple, newly matched tuple. Yeah, this is. I mean, Ollie didn't complain either, so Ollie had this improvement here. Oh, this was Ollie's suggestion. This was also, yeah, this was Ollie's idea. Yeah, this was when Ollie was still confused about what it actually does. Now this here, provided args.get. So we get the low and we get the high. And here we get the provided args to tuple. This is the provided args from mismatch index to forever. And we have the start, the low, something, and then the high. What is this pattern? Oh no, either it's this slice or either it just has one element or it has two or more elements. And it only has one element case. Why is there a high at low? Oh, this binds both of them, doesn't it? That's very clever. That's too clever, but it's fine. They deserve an R plus, I think. Okay, now it's also this guy, which you might remember from last time. I'm just not really interested in this anymore because I need to benchmark Zipash a bunch. Yeah, it's just. That's fine. Okay, notification, that's just. I could do this right up. Or I could pause it for today. It's 1.5 hours. Would anyone want to read more? Want to watch more of this? Probably. But also maybe not. This time. So. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I think this would be fun to see. No, actually, I forgot that HackMD is kind of broken in my Firefox for whatever reason. Well, let's see what happens. My workspace. C split dwarf. And no, C dwarf version. Okay, so let me explain what this is if you don't know already. So, dwarf, once again, it's a creature, a fantasy creature, and that's all you need to know. It's the debugging format, the debug info format used on most platforms. So really, it's everyone except Windows that uses it. And it has different versions. There's Dwarf 4, which is currently the default in Rust, and most compilers, I think. And Dwarf 5, which is the newer version, which has new stuff. I don't know what kind of new stuff, but it has new stuff, and new stuff is very nice. And some people want new stuff, but some tools don't support new stuff, which is why it's not the default everywhere yet. Wow, it's actually wider this way. That's interesting wrapping, so I'm gonna keep this. And yes, now Wesley wants to stabilize this flag to control the dwarf version. And it was just added a while ago, now it should be stabilized. And really the sort of remaining question is, right, so one of the questions here is, should we have dwarf version, or should we have debug info version that allows you to more concretely control, but basically unified across targets. So you can say, hey, I want debug info version dwarf 5 or code view, the Windows thing. And that's sort of the question. And another one here is, what happens if you pass in a target that doesn't use dwarf? So on Windows, it just doesn't do anything. No warning, no error. And I think that's appropriate, because this way you can like put it into your Rust flags or whatever and say in your global config and say, I want to always use this flag. And if you compile for Windows, you don't care about the warning, because obviously you don't want to use dwarf 5 here. It would be nice to have a way to kind of inform the user, but also not inform the user. Like, we want to tell people that we're doing a wrong thing, but we also don't want to tell them when it's fine. We can't tell, so we're just not gonna tell them. It's really your issue if you expect dwarf version to expect to do anything on Windows. And yes, I think this is fine from what I know. I've read the report when it was opened, and then they want to merge, and Oli, Petrochenkov, and David has done a bunch of dwarf stuff. But yes, let's look ourselves. So, there's usual and some comments. No, I don't want to click on, obviously. It's cool. So, other split dwarf. Yeah, I don't think this is super important. The pre-dwarf version 5. Okay, so this means that dwarf 5 does change something for split dwarf, but it's fine. Probably fine, likely. I would check my books for this, I think. Yeah, putting it in the docs seems fine. You can always write everything in documentation, but also, yeah, stuff. Yeah, putting in documentation is always neat, but I think it's fine. So there's something here which I think I was assigned to, and then got potatoed away to Björn because I want Björn to have a look. Oh no, no, someone else took it over. Yeah, it just picks the highest version when doing it. It's just stuff. Yeah, my impression from this is that it's fine. Yeah, this just if you have multiple, if you have LTO, so I think fat LTO in this case, where everything is combined into one module, and the different things that are combined have different versions. Like, what version will the final module have? Well, the highest one, because then someone might use new features. So that makes sense. Call for testing periods. Yeah. I don't have any concerns. I don't think call for testing periods are that effective. So I just not. I could test it locally on some project, but also doesn't really matter. You know, this is the thing that Rust for Linux really wants and needs and does. Why do they have Rust compiler stuff on anyway? And this is part of required. Yeah, this is RFL. Rust for Linux really needs this, and if Rust for Linux needs this, then someone is already like they're testing it, and it's not completely broken because otherwise they would complain. Yes, it has been in there for a while. Yeah, who knows when using someone's using it. Yeah, that's sort of my main point thought about this is like, hey, even if it's completely broken, we want it eventually. Like, we would fix it and then it would be fine. Like, that's the idea. Sure, if we stabilize it, there's an expectation of quality, but it's some low-level code gen thing. Like, people, I don't want it to. I don't want. I wouldn't want to stabilize if it was broke. If I know it was broken, but it's just not super important. There aren't any sort of weird stability guarantee semantics to consider, I think. Honestly, I'm inclined to just Jubilee had some comment about unwind tables, yet frame, but I don't think that's relevant. Like, the EH frame ABI shouldn't matter, but also I want to meow, so I want to do a project that's called meow, of course, and I want to do a cargo build. This is cargo build, and then do a CP of target debug meow meow 1, and then I do a cargo build studs to actually get dwarf version equals 5 to actually build the entire binary, also standard library with dwarf version 5 to basically just see if the EH frame sections are any different. Because I don't think that would be the case. So then we meow 5. I shouldn't say meow 1, I should say meow 4, of course. And then I do LVM dwarf dump, comma, and that has a flag for EH frame. How was it called? EH frame or debug frame? What does debug frame do? Debug frame. I don't want debug frame. I want EH frame. I want meow 4 frame 4 diff frame 4 frame 5. There's a bunch of diff here. Difftastic is confused, so there's a bunch of diff. They are very different, which makes none of sense because apparently you're not looking at EH frame. It's a lie. Thanks, LBM Dwarf Dump. How do you get a section content? I think there was a flag for this. I could also look it on the internet, but this is something that's useful to know anyway. There's no menu entry. J. Well, I guess J would be a good thing to start. .eh frame meow 4 or not. Oh, it's S, yes. Frame 4. Oh. Is it meow 4 EH frame? What the fuck? I think I've used this before. I've apparently not. Opt dump section content. Oh wait, it's full section, huh? It's not. Oh yeah, I think I'm confused. I think I need to J this. No, I don't need to. I need to SJ. Then I'll do bet frame 4. This seems like a reasonable amount of stuff, okay. Do the same for frame 5 and with diff frame. They are very different. Now, of course, that might also just be because it's not reproducible. Or because meow 4 doesn't exist. frame 4 is a lot. I should probably actually make the comparison a bit clearer and fairer. Because I don't actually trust that build state, no build state config to be the same. I'm a bit confused. Why would it be so much bigger? Why would it be so much bigger? Okay, now it's its original size. Yes, now we can do frame 4, no diff. No diff. Okay. Yes, this is the big question. Yeah, I think it makes sense to have a specific flag for the dwarf version, which you can just set if you want, and then if there's not a format, yeah, we could say wasm, like have an additional flag for wasm debug info. That's not as unified, and therefore more flexible. Yeah, actually, I was sort of misremembering this a bit. This doesn't actually any write up. I did indeed. I did see dwarf version has 0 impact on EH frame online. Well, you're right. The reason the build binary was much larger is because the library is built with optimizations, and I built without optimizations now. Just sort of remembered. Yes, there's no entanglement. Like, oops, the ABI is just very different. Like, even with dwarf version 4, like EH frame and debug frame are not fully compatible. EH frame is the thing that's used for unwinding. So if you panic, it will unwind the stack, and the unwinder in libc will read the EH frame information to sort of understand what's going on. I have a not very I have a tiny project that attempts to do this, but it doesn't actually do it in a working good way. Yeah, I've started some parsing, but I barely have. But I haven't parsed. I have parsed more than I remembered. But yes, it's not very functional. But yes, we have the records here, for example. So there are these instructions, and there are like the common information entry, function description entry, and the fields. Debug frame has the same structures, but the fields are slightly different, I think. But yes, this is satisfactory. I'm gonna check my box. And therefore I have successfully completed this. Oh, an update here on this issue. This is getting really funny. So today's PR was merged that like completely broke tools, like Clippy no longer started even. And here's a fix for this PR, and nightly will be released in, because I'm in 1 hour away from UTC, will be released in like 3 hours. So we have 3 hours to ensure that nightly doesn't get completely fucked up, which I think is great. I love it when nightly is not completely broken, but it's getting really tight. We should probably um on the other hand, I'm not sure whether anyone is around here. Is Mark around? No, Mark is not around. Whatever. It's gonna be fine. And if it's not fine, it won't be fine, but only for a day. Will only be not fine for a day. Well, actually, I really should probably inform people on Zulip. Broken Nightly might be released today. Are completely broken. So of the time is involved, it should all work out if no problem arises. let's inform people because we don't want nightly to be broken because nightly. I mean, it's nightly. Like it can happen that that it breaks, but it would rather not have it break. Runaway build. You have no information. So if it hangs for that the Roscoe, maybe the Rust compiler shouldn't hang actually. Like maybe that would help the problem. You know, if the compiler just like didn't hang. The Hyperswitch project. Like the exact command. Like, so apparently this is a FreeBSD issue, but like these people can compile it successfully, so I don't know what you're doing. I just got a push notification on my phone that Mark answered. Uh, okay. Very useful. A bug is a bug. And I don't think. It could print the backtrace when it takes very long, but that's sort of very fragile stuff. And like, just put it in the debugger. Like, you know, if you can actually run it interactively, but whatever. That's like this, this is distributions often just open issues that have like no information and they're like bug. Thanks. It is indeed a bug. Okay. So it's been 2 hours. Yes, it's been exactly 2 hours even. And I think that's been it for today. I will probably do this again in the future, or maybe not, we'll see. But I hope you enjoyed this and you could learn something, or at least spend your 2 hours well, or less than 2 hours if you watch on higher speed. I don't know what you do. Okay, have a nice evening, day, morning, whenever you watch it, and goodbye.